The Super Bowl is less than a week away. Many sports fans are buying new TVs to watch the big game, and they're taking advantage of some of the best TV sales of the year. Joining us this morning is Kelli Grant, senior consumer reporter for smartmoney.com. Good morning, Kelli.
Good morning.
So are people really running out to buy new TVs just for the big game?
They are. If their team is in it, then they really feel that they need to impress everyone who's coming over to watch the game. And, you know, we're hearing the sales are pretty good, so it gives them some extra incentive.
Yeah, I guess if you're inviting people over, you got to have an impressive screen, right?
Exactly.
Or else they can go somewhere else. So how do you make sure that even though you might be rushing in the last week to get a TV, that you get the best bang for your buck?
Well, you got to read the reviews. That's the big thing, because when we're talking about sales this time of year, they are really on par with what you'd see during the holiday season in a lot of cases. But at this point in the model year, you know, we just saw all of these brand new TVs that were announced at the Consumer Electronics Show. They're making their way to shelves as soon as March. So you're looking at kind of the last bits of that model year. So you've got some great TVs that are going to be on clearance, but you also have sort of the duds that nobody wanted. So read the reviews, make sure that you're getting the best set.
Right. And is bigger still better when it comes to a new TV?
For the Super Bowl, you got to go bigger. We're hearing that as TV prices drop, that sort of sweet spot for the sales has gone bigger. And last year and previous years, it would have been like maybe a 42-inch. This year, it's anything sort of 50-inch and bigger is where we're seeing the really good sales. And for people, you know, just as it gets cheaper, your budget maybe $600 a few years ago would have gotten you a 32-inch set. This year, it's definitely going to get you that 50-inch. So pretty attractive for people.
And suddenly that 32-inch doesn't look so hot anymore.
Exactly.
In your living room. But can you go too big?
You can, and this is something that was kind of surprising. You know, we've talked about this in previous years, this thing called optimal viewing distance, that ideally, whatever your TV's measurement is, you want to sit at least 2 times the distance away from that. So it's a 42-inch, you want to be at least 84 inches away from it. So for a lot of people, unless you're living in a very large space, you've got some room to play with, there is such a thing as a TV that's too big for that space. So really measure your space, figure out what is the biggest you can go and stick with that.
And when you're buying a TV, you think of size, but also, you know, the technology. But I read these specs, I don't even understand a lot of what I'm getting.
It's a hard thing to figure out. And for consumers, you know, when you're looking at the reviews, a lot of that's going to sort out. But you want to keep in mind, you know, we got 3 main technologies out there right now that are affordable for most people. More manufacturers are moving towards something called LED, which has really pushed down prices in the past year for LCDs and for plasmas specifically. Plasmas are about 30% cheaper than they were last year. But for all of these technologies, there are ups, there are downs. Plasmas might be the cheapest, but they also tend to run a little bit hotter than the others. They're less energy efficient, and they can have more glare in brightly lit rooms. So figure out the differences and see what's going to work for you.
And I'm also concerned, at least for myself, I think other people think about this, is this TV going to be obsolete in 6 months? Because the technology changes so rapidly.
It does, and I mean, and honestly, it's all going to be obsolete very, very quickly. But when you're buying a TV, you do want to think about that this isn't something that you should have to replace next year, or maybe even the year after. You want this to last for a couple of years. So look for some of the things like, if you're a sports fan, a high refresh rate, because that's going to really capture all of that fast movement on the screen. Think about things like getting a web-connected TV that has apps. This is something that, you know, we're seeing more and more of. Practically every TV at this point has that, but you want to look for those systems so that way you can stay connected down the line.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Great tips. Kelli Grant, senior consumer reporter for smartmoney.com. Thank you.